Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. I have a guest that I'm very, very, very excited to have on to chat today. They are a multi-award-winning comedian, composer, and content creator. Their shows have been recognised for their genre bending, I should say, politically savvy comedy, and garnered critical acclaim. Their film Lousical the Musical, which is name I love, swept the Green Room Awards, winning Best Production, Best Writing, Outstanding Online Achievement. They've toured their Moosehead Award solo show, Lou War versus the Internet, making the international debut at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2023. Please welcome Lou War!
Oh my god, hi! Thanks so much
Thank you so much for jumping on.
Nah, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. Yeah, because I caught you at the Hayes 2024 season release, where you announced your show, Flat Earthers the Musical, which I was like, perfect, absolutely perfect. But I caught you at the end because I was like, I need to say hello to Lou because I passed you so many times at Edinburgh.
I'm still thinking about how you said that. I'm personally offended that you didn't come up to me. What did you say?
I know.
You said to me, they were doing a show. I was like, everyone's doing a show. You should have come up and said, hey. To be honest, I was gravitating to Australians over there, so I would have been very excited.
Yeah, because you were like, it was down near, the names are just going out of my head now.
Near George
the
Square?
Underbelly, the Underbelly area. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's Lou War. Oh, they're doing a show. That's okay. I'll keep walking. But yeah, so that was your debut at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah, very
Excellent.
First Edinburgh. So time of
how
my
did you
actual
go?
life. I loved it. It was so fun. I had truly the best time.
Excellent. And
sorry, you go.
oh, I was going to say, and you had a lot of fellow comedian friends over there as well. Like I know Michelle Brazier was there, Gillian Cosgrove, Jane Watts was there. So it was a whole bunch of you there.
Yeah, totally. I think to be honest, it was the first year that, I mean, it was my first year, so I can't really say this, but I felt like the first year Edinburgh was like properly back for international artists post pandemic, because obviously it was back last year, but there was a lot of chaos, there was still lockdown restrictions and that kind of thing. But this year, it really felt like the Australians came out in force, which was super exciting. And also just really great because, you could recommend other Australians, they could recommend you. And like, there was just a big cohort of friends, which always makes Edinburgh so much nicer.
Yeah, I remember I went to see Jane and Angie's show, Jazz and a Bucket of Blood,
so
which
good.
I still talk about to people. They go, what was the best show you saw? So, well, I saw Jazz and a Bucket of Blood.
I love that show so much.
And, oh, it was so funny because one of the main things in it is the whole Bunnings gag. And obviously, they don't have Bunnings in the UK. I remember living there and they actually attempted to open a Bunnings. So when I heard
really?
I was stoked. I was like, yes, Bunnings, okay, get my sausage sizzle. And then I think it shut down because it didn't work.
Devastating.
Which was funny.
Where did the lesbians go?
I know. And then in the show, they were like, who here knows a Bunnings? And like 90% of the audience put their hands up and they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing.
Yeah. You expect Edinburgh audiences to be, like, I guess I expected them to be more UK based, but they're so international. Like the audiences are almost as international as the artists there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm glad
it's incredible.
Lesbian Bunnings reigns supreme over there as well.
It's so good. Well, we'll get to talking about your career in a second and Flat Earthers, which I want to really jump into. But I'd love to ask you our 1 minute theatre thoughts questions and then unpack them and see, what are your thoughts on all these different facets of theatre?
Okay, great. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I time like roughly a minute and it's like whatever kind of jumps off your head, I suppose.
Okay.
Alrighty, here we go. What has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Oh, production I've seen. There was a show in Edinburgh called Mr. TikTok, and that was by far the best thing I saw. It was like a live AI generated comedy show featuring like the most amazing tech.
Okay, Mr. TikTok. All right. What role? Yeah, I say that's a good one. What role haven't you played yet that you'd still want to?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I always wanted to be in music theatre, but I can't sing well enough. But there is a role called Lena Lamont in Singing in the Rain. And essentially, the character can't sing, and it's a comedy character, and she's a starlet,
Yes,
and she's very annoying. And I think that would be my dream role, to be in a
that would
musical,
be
but also to not
perfect.
really have to sing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the best.
the dream.
Name a show that left you speechless.
Oh my God, these are such good questions. I saw Bryony Kimmings, who's a UK-based performance artist and theatre maker. She did a show called Sex Magic at
Oh,
Melbourne Comedy
yes.
Festival in, I want to say like maybe 2015, 2014. And in it, there was this part where she got the audience to cut off their pubes and she made them into a moustache um, live in the show. And that, for me, that show was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen. And truly speechless in that. I was like, I can't talk about this. It's crazy.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. I was just picturing it in my brain. I went, oh my goodness.
Truly.
Um, what is your favorite production of all time?
That's so
It's a big one.
impossible.
That's a big one, isn't
That's
it?
such a big one. Um,
Or
oh,
one
I
that holds
actually
like a memory for you.
that's so hard to answer. I love um it's such a basic answer, but I love Wicked, and when I saw
Ah,
that for the first time, that really
Wicked.
changed the game for me.
Excellent. And the last question, which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
Oh, I mean, there's just been the announcement of Beetlejuice and Groundhog Day, which is pretty
Mm,
exciting.
we are
I feel like
feasting.
a lot of, and Dear Evan Hansen, so I feel like a lot of things are coming. I would love to see an Australian version of Hades Town. I think we have some amazing folk artists here who would absolutely crush that score.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That's roughly a minute. So let's jump back to Mr. TikTok then. So you said it
Mr.
was
Tick.
technically groundbreaking.
Yeah,
What was yeah? What was it about? Like, if you could kind of, if you were to talk it to someone who's never seen it before, what was the best thing about it?
I think it's actually incredibly hard to describe. It was in a basement in Edinburgh, and essentially it was about a mid-career artist having a breakdown. The copy, I remember reading the copy in the Edinburgh Fringe brochure, and it said, um, this guy has a whopping 1,000 TikTok followers. You have to come and see it. And I was like, what do you mean? That's so silly. And it was just like it was about a mid-career artist having a breakdown, and trying to make it in the online sphere. And it was just chaos and brilliant. And his wife was actually up the back, or his partner up the back. He did a lot of crowd work, and his wife would then put that crowd work into the show, um, using like AI and like bots and stuff. It's honestly indescribable, but it was like a
That's
chaotic,
clever.
brilliantly funny, cursed internet love child. And I will now see everything he does.
Isn't that great? I love that. I think that's my favorite thing about festivals is you pick up artists that you will see like constantly. Like that's how
Mm,
I got on being a massive fan of Michelle Brazier and Gillian
totally. Yeah.
Cosgrove as well. Cause like I saw their shows at Melbourne Comedy and I was like, I feel really bad that I've never heard of these people before, and now I will love them until the day I die. And
Exactly.
you just get on the train.
And the best part is like for festival artists as well, like they're usually doing a show every year or every couple of years. So you get a new little
Mm,
tasting all the time.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about your answer. The show left you speechless was sex magic. So what was it about
Yes.
sex magic that
Wait,
was
maybe
just
it's not
like?
called Sex Magic. Oh, I actually
Because
don't
I'm
know.
thinking
It's
sex magic was that the one at
because that was a
Griffin?
show at Griffin. Wait, let me
Yeah,
do a really, really, really fast live Google.
yeah, do
Um,
it.
Sex show. What was it? Sex
Now,
Idiot. Okay, it was called Sex
six
Idiot.
idiot,
Yes, and
six
essentially it
idiot.
was like a show that was like a mix between uh so she discovers she has an STI, and she essentially goes to all the people who she slept with and like tells them about it. So it's autobiographical, it's comedy, and it was like a beautiful theater mashup. I love stuff that bends genres and then crosses genres.
Mm,
And I don't know if you know Bryony Kimmings, but she's a really, really phenomenal artist, and she makes a lot of autobiographical work. But I remember seeing this, and it was just like pure chaos. And I don't remember much of it except for the pube situation, but I remember it like changing the game for me and really expanding what I thought comedy could be. Um, from
yeah.
just like a microphone on a stand, and seeing that, I was like, oh, you can like the I think a lot of people do cabaret comedy, but she really does theater comedy, and for me, I was like,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah. And is that kind of how where you would describe your comedy and your style sort of falls into, or do you have something like well, I guess the question is how would you describe your shows like Lou War versus the Internet and all the other ones you've done before?
Yeah, I mean, my resume is pretty much just like comedy stand up, but I did study theater making at university. So my real passion is theater. I think I got into comedy because stand up as an art form is super accessible. You don't need to have much money to do it. You can access really wide variety of audiences. You can do it almost every night of the week. So that's why I started doing it. But I do love theater, but I would describe my stuff as um multimedia musical comedy, I guess. I generally don't
Cool.
describe it as
Yeah.
musical comedy because I think musical comedy has a really bad rap and is seen as like pretty uncool. But now
Right.
that Jillian and Ruben and Michelle are coming up, I'm like, no, let's make
Uh
musical comedy
yeah.
cool again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're like the three that are kind of like really leading it, aren't they?
hmm Truly. But yeah, I describe it as like
Um,
multimedia comedy.
okay, awesome. But then the last one I want to unpack is Wicked. So what is it
No, I'm
about
depressed
Wicked?
that I gave this answer. I feel like this is a bad
No,
answer.
no, no, don't be. People love Wicked.
I mean, people love Wicked, but then I think about when I saw the first version of Wicked, and I would have seen a slime tutorial of it, which is like a YouTube recording
Oh.
of a Broadway show, like
Oh,
illegally filmed,
yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty much
And they
how I've
name it
watched,
Slime Tutorial. Yeah.
yeah, to get around the copyright, which is pretty much how I've watched every musical I've ever watched, before I moved to a city. Um, I think for me, just the songs in Wicked, the songwriting is brilliant, and like to have, um, songs that are such an amalgamation of pop and that perfect MT belt. And also, like,
Mm,
I think a lot of theatre nerds come out of fan fiction and come out of, pre-existing text that has been made. And Wicked is essentially that. It's essentially fan fiction. It's, you know, the Wizard of Oz on crack, and it's the backstory. And there's so much like intertextual layers in that, which really excite me. And yeah, it's just a beautiful story of friendship. I love it. Actually, to be honest, I probably
it's
like
so
it
good.
because I really did think it was a lesbian story.
Oh,
Because even
okay.
like the poster, like they look like they're kissing, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, it's not gay, but you know, a girl can
Could be.
dream. Truly.
That's so good. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I love hearing everyone's different thoughts. Oh, Hades Town. So yes, because I
Oh
totally
yeah,
agree with you with Hades Town. It has to be like every time they say, "Oh, there's a massive announcement coming," I'm like, if it's not Hades Town, my day's gonna be ruined because
truly.
it needs to come.
It needs to come. I would so love to see that. I mean, oh no, maybe that's secret. When is this going to be announced?
Oh, this podcast?
Yeah. We can cut this
Probably
out if it's
like
not announced. But
yeah, that's okay.
Hadestown's
Probably
getting a
like
revival in the UK.
yeah, it is. Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
announced. Yeah,
Oh, that's been announced. Oh, that's literally
yeah,
fine. But
yeah.
they've just finished casting it. But it's funny because it's like still attached to its original creators. So it's
Ah, okay.
original director. So I do wonder if it will come here,
Yeah.
because if they're willing to, sell it as a product without its original direction. But we'll see. We will see.
Wait and see. Excellent. Well, let's change direction then. Let's
Mhm.
jump onto you. Let's learn about the career of Lou Wall. Where did it all start for you?
I guess I can probably put it back to I went to school in a town called Cooma, which is a little town in the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. And I kind of did everything. I really loved sports. I really loved academia. There wasn't much theatre in town. Actually, there was fuck all theatre. There was no theatre in town. Um, there was one community theatre, but when I was growing up, it wasn't running that much. They'd have a show like every maybe 5 years or something. Um, but this guy came to town to run a comedy workshop, and I did the comedy workshop, and it was literally me and some farmers, and it was at the local library, and then they were like, let's put on a stand-up comedy night. And for some, I was like 17 at the time. I can't explain. The other guys were like 50. And I was like, let's do
Yeah.
it. And then we did it. And I just had the best night of my life. It was like in like a shed in town. Um, and I was like, oh, I'm so addicted to this. And then from there, I auditioned for a bunch of acting schools, got into VCA, studied at VCA, finished VCA, kind of wasn't getting the roles I was getting, so started doing comedy, and then 6 years later ended up here.
So cool. I love that. I love that so much. It's fascinating. I'd like talk to so many people trying to see like the trajectories of each one and the roads they take. I find just deeply fascinating.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's always
that's
sorry,
no,
you
sorry,
go.
what were you going to say?
I truly have no
No,
idea. Sorry.
no, you go. Oh goodness. Yeah. So then you've won Green Room Awards for Lousical the Musical. What was it like getting that sort of recognition for your work and seeing like something like Green Room Awards are very highly regarded. So winning something like that, what was that feeling?
It was amazing. I actually won the year that we were in lockdown. So it was like this
Oh, incredible.
really strange thing of I'd made this I was going to do this show called Lousical the Musical, at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And then I think it was literally like 13, 12 days before we opened, the comedy festival got cancelled and we got put into our first lockdown. And so I kind of just decided to make it online. And so I filmed this, like, what I can only describe as a feature film in my bedroom, um,
Mm,
and put that up. And then I won the green rooms for it the next year. But the next year we were still in a lockdown, a different, the 2.0 that Melbourne had.
yeah.
Um, and so it was kind of this like very strange thing where it was like all online. I didn't go to the ceremony because I was in another Zoom for another work call or something. So it just kind of like came and went. And then I didn't really like register until I was like out in the world again. But it was very, very fucking cool. And my ego has never been the same.
I feel like that would be me if I ever won an award where they're like, Justin Hughes is an award for podcasting. I'd be like, well, put that
Truly.
on my
It's
resume.
now my middle name. Yeah, legit, legit.
That's great. Excellent. Well, we're just going to take a quick ad break and then we'll talk about flat earthers.